Ready.
Good morning, everybody. It's Jim Feist in Las Vegas and Joe Mack in New York City. Joe, how are you today, and how was your fourth?
My fourth was excellent. Everything's fine. It's starting to cool down a tiny bit here. We hit late high 90s, about 105 real feel. I don't know how you Vegas people do it, but we're surviving, and it's going to cool down a little bit for us. But it's great sports weather, big baseball weekend, and as you know, Jim, we're talking football too, so a lot of sports on the menu.
Well, you know, the big news the last couple of days has mostly been basketball. Because of LeBron moving from Cleveland to L.A. and then Rondo going out there as well, and then they pick up Lance Stevenson, they pick up McGee out of the Golden State Warriors, and then Cousins signs with the Warriors for a minuscule amount of money. However, you know, the question there is his Achilles and will it heal and all that other stuff. So there's been a lot of news for there, and what is, you know, the big question in the NBA is, what has Magic Johnson got up his sleeve next?
Yeah, it's a good one. He's got a lot of young parts. You know, I had a feeling that they like their young talents probably more than they do. I mean, Kuzma had a big year for them last year. Obviously, the jury is still out on Lonzo Ball. But I really thought, you know, he might get LeBron and then that might be it. And figure that these young guys would settle it around him. But obviously, Magic has other ideas, and as you said, they went out and got Rondo, who I guess he's not going to be happy until he plays for every team in the NBA at this point. But, hey, he's still an effective guard, a guy who had a couple of 20-assist games this year, and a player that's probably going to be a nice complimentary piece to LeBron. I tell you the truth, Jim, I would have liked to see LeBron stay in Cleveland. I know he had his championship. He had his fourth straight runs in the finals. I just kind of felt like I'd like to see him stay there and see if next year he and his team would have been able to knock off Philly and Boston along the way. But he chose the LA style, and I guess that was the worst kept secret out there with him, you know, with a home out there, with his boys looking to go to the schools out there. So it came as no big surprise, but I'll go on record as saying I wish he would have stayed, and I think in terms of one loss, I think he would have, even though that Cleveland lineup doesn't look great, I think because of the fact it's just easy to get to the finals, I think he should have stayed. But he's got to do what he's got to do, and if he goes to L.A., and boy, if they ever can, you know, let's say they knock off Golden State in the playoffs within the next 2 years, he'll be a conquering hero out there. So he's got a new challenge ahead of him, and I guess this is how he likes it. He's done everything that a guy could do in this league, so, you know, it's a new challenge for him now out in Hollywood.
It is. It's a new league, and the standards of players moving from one place to the other for the big bucks and big opportunities. In his case, it might be the opportunities of L.A. versus Cleveland after basketball rather than during basketball. So, because he is 34, he'll retire with this contract at 38. It very well might be the opportunities not only for his son, his wife likes it there too, and the business opportunities maybe working with Magic, and Magic has become a multi whatever, very successful businessman. I'm sure LeBron wants to hook up with some of the things he's doing. So anyway, we're going to talk about the NFC South. Now this division. Just a couple weeks ago, I was saying this division has some pretty decent quarterbacks. Of course, we lost one through suspension for at least 3 games, with Jameis Winston going down because of his off-field behavior. But we do have 3 other teams that are very, very strong: Carolina, New Orleans, and Atlanta. Atlanta, of course, with Matty Ice getting a $150 million contract. You got New Orleans with Drew Brees, an incredible player, long history of being successful, a Super Bowl title. And of course you got Cam Newton at Carolina. We got a pretty solid, 3 teams, and the other team might have been a contender with them, with a healthy and Jameis Winston, but I'm not even sure about that. There was definitely the weakest link of the four. So what do you see in this division, Joe?
Well, I'll tell you the first thing, and you touched on those quarterbacks, all big money guys, big name guys. But you know what is not stressed enough, Jim, is these guys, they go to the post every week. I mean, think about it. Drew Brees has been around for a long time, and he's missed very few games in his career. I know he got hurt when he was a young quarterback in San Diego, but he has been, he has really been an Iron Man as a Saints player. The same for Matt Ryan. I mean, he gets criticized a lot. Obviously, the Falcons still kind of living down the Super Bowl loss of a couple of years ago, but you got to give it to Matt Ryan. He's out there every series, every game, and except for, a couple of injuries here and there to Cam Newton, who, let's face it, plays a little bit more recklessly than the other two, leaves the pocket certainly more than the other two. But, that's what jumps out at me that I think often gets forgotten in this NFL is, are you there? Are you a guy that's going to, let's put it this way. Look at Ben Roethlisberger. He's had a great career. He's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's been to 3 Super Bowls. Well, let's face it. You almost know every year that he's going to miss 2, 3, 4 games, injuries. I mean, he's a tough guy. He stands in the pocket and takes his beating. But he's always going to miss 3 or 4 games a year. You look at these quarterbacks that you're mentioning, outside of Jameis Winston now with the suspension, these guys, they all go to the post every time. That counts for something that means a lot to their teams. And no doubt they're the star players. But you look at Brees, you look at Ryan, these guys, I mean, they're there every game. They're sharp passers. Lots of times they've not gone further into the playoffs than they should because of their defense, which is no fault of their own. And I think that's what's going to be the telling tale right here in this 2018 season coming up. You tell me right now which one of these is going to be the best defense or which one of them is going to maybe force the most turnovers. And I'll give you the team that I think is going to win it because, you've got to go into the season thinking the Saints will score 27, 28 points a game. Ryan and the Falcons, and I think they're going to be a little more multifaceted even this year than in years past. They're probably good for 27 to 30 points a game. So you've got a competitive division. We've seen over time, Jim, this has been a division that's had a lot of worst to first teams. A lot of teams that have talent but maybe had an injury-plagued year or just a bad luck year, and they zoomed from fourth place to first. We could see stuff like that. I don't know if Carolina's window has closed. Obviously, the Super Bowl 3 years ago looked like they were going to stay for a while. Kind of got disassembled in certain parts, the defensive backfield, the offensive line. So I think Carolina's taken a bit of a step back. But I'm going to be really interested, out of all the quarterbacks that we're talking about, I'm really going to be interested to see what kind of year Cam Newton has. I think they're going to try to please him with a couple more name receivers out there. And I don't know. If he has an MVP-type season, Carolina's going to be back to a 12-win team and dangerous. But if Newton is, if Newton throws the ball away a few times, advanced in tight situations, red zone situations, Carolina is probably going to be more like an 8-8 team. But it's really a fascinating division. I agree with you. It's the best division in the NFL. And again, we had 3 of these teams go to the playoffs last year. It would not shock me if 3 went back this year if they get a couple of breaks along the way.
Well, absolutely. Great summary there, Joe. With Atlanta, we know what happened a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl, 28-3, and they blew the lead. They lost their offensive coordinator, who is now the head coach in San Francisco. They bring in Steve Sarkisian, and their production on offense went way down. They were very, very disappointing offense last year compared to what they had the previous year. They also have, they brought in Sarkisian for the offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, and Manuel, and they both came in at the same time. The team totally changed, and they made the playoffs. Matty Ice was still solid, and that's a solid team. They got great talent, but there was a drop off when they lost Shanahan as the offensive coordinator, and they didn't appear to be able to overcome that. They still made, like I said, they still made the playoffs. They were still good. They were still competitive, but it wasn't quite the same. Now, with Carolina, they changed offensive and defensive coordinators as well for this coming year. Norv Turner, who has been around a long time, now joins Ron Rivera as the head coach. Turner is the offensive coordinator, and Eric Washington's the defensive coordinator. You know, there's a lot to be, you have to question when you have that many changes at the coaching level, whether it's going to gel or not. It didn't work well for Atlanta last year compared to the previous year when they went to the Super Bowl. And then, of course, you go down to and look at New Orleans. You know, they had Carmichael, offensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator. They've been there several years, and got Sean Payton, who's been there since 2006. So they have consistency there. And I'm going to discount Tampa Bay at this point. They brought in a new offensive coordinator in Monken. The defensive coordinator's been there a couple of years in Smith. But they're going to have a lot of inconsistency at the quarterback position with Winston. And I'm not a big Winston fan anyway, okay? So let me just say that out front. And with him missing the first 3 games, if not, I don't know what else is going to happen to him, because you never know what could happen, what's going on with any investigation. But I'm going to discount them as a contender for this division. I'm going to say, based on the consistency at the coaching level with Drew Brees and the pieces that they have there, that is my favorite to win this division, with Atlanta very close behind them, but Sarkisian has to improve what he did last year with this offensive talent. It was very underwhelming for me to watch them produce so much less than they were able to do under Shanahan the previous year.
So I would agree with that. Atlanta definitely took a step back in terms of offensive production. But you know what, Jim? I think they still have enough playmakers. I think maybe it's not just with Sarkisian, but it takes some time in a lot of situations for especially veteran quarterbacks to kind of gel with a new play caller. And I think that was part of their problem. And again, I saw enough of the Falcons last year. They seem to just make a drive-stopping play at the most inopportune times. Sometimes they would let a blitz get through, and Ryan would get sacked and fumbled. Just costly plays like that really set them back. Otherwise, that offense probably should have ranked higher in terms of points per game, yards per game, and whatnot. I'll say this, though, like you said, the continuity of the same staff is certainly a big help. And let's face it, Sean Payton is very comfortable with Carmichael. That they work hand in glove and have through the years. But you know what? I want to see them make that step. I'm the Saints fan. I mean, I rooted for them when they won the Super Bowl back then. I thought this team was going to be one that could possibly win 2 or 3 crowns in a 5-year period. Even though they played very well last year, obviously the shocking season-ending playoff loss to Minnesota, you know, a play that I can't even imagine that Saints have recovered from yet. But to me, the Saints are like, you know what, show me, prove it. Prove you can be a 12-win team, win a couple of tough road games, maybe even in Atlanta, let's say, and show me that you're going to get into the playoffs, maybe get a first-round bye. I kind of want to see it. Whereas with Carolina, I give them a little leeway because of the changes they've made. And as far as the Falcons go, I think they're going to be solid. I think the Falcons are going to be a 10-win team. And again, I bring it back to where I started. These quarterbacks are able to be under center for all these snaps. I hate to say it. I mean, we know Winston is out for the suspension. And as you said, Jim, you don't know what you're getting from Jameis Winston. He's been a disappointment since he came out. I've told guys that I know who are in fantasy leagues that I thought he was going to be a top 5 quarterback within 2 years. It hasn't happened for sure. He's probably on the back. If you're looking at 32 starting quarterbacks, you'd have to say Winston is 18 to 20 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But, I've been disappointed with him. And like you said, let's chuck the Bucs right out of the picture for a second. I think you're going to see more from Atlanta this year, more from their offense, a more efficient team. And I want to see what the Saints are when the chips are down. I want to see the Saints have to win in Atlanta, or maybe have to win in Carolina, maybe have to come from behind to do it. To me, they're a playoff team, but if I had to pick right now, well, it's almost a flip of the coin for me, but I think I would take Atlanta slightly over New Orleans in terms of winning the NFC South.
Well, that's a mouthful, and I respect your opinion, and I know it's going to be close. I don't put one over the other by that much, and then of course they have injury issues that can pop up along the way. I'm a little, I still have to see some more from Sarkisian. On his play calling and what he did last year, and that's got to work out better. And I'm sure it should improve. It should improve. We're going to do all the divisions eventually, and I think we probably have to step up next week and do 2. And I got a shocker for you. I want to do the AFC North, which we're talking about Pittsburgh and Cincinnati and Baltimore and of course Cleveland. And I'm going to give you a shocker here that a team that hardly ever wins, I think maybe 1 win in 2 years or something like that, the Cleveland Browns are going to go from last to first.
Wow. That would be shockaroo news all around if that happened.
Well, you got to give the city of Cleveland something. They just lost LeBron James, so you got to give them a boost. And I agree with anybody out there that thinks I'm crazy or smoking something crazy right now. But I know that's a long shot. But it's they do have an abundance of talent that they've added in the off season. And they definitely improved their quarterback situation. Maybe not a Super Bowl type quarterback, but somebody that will take care of the ball better. And so we'll go there next week and we'll talk about it, and I'll make a case for Cleveland.
Okay.
And people.
Hey, I tell you what, I just looked at their depth chart yesterday or the day before, and it's funny you saying that about the talent. I looked at it. I looked at their 2 deep heading into camp. Coming up later this month, all the teams will be getting involved around July 25th or so. And I said, wow, the Browns don't have a bad roster here. This is not bad. I thought to myself, this is a team with 1 win, like you said, in the last 2 years. I'm thinking 5-6 wins, but you're way more ambitious than I am, so maybe you'll be right. But I think they're going to be a pretty competitive team this year.
I was exaggerating to make a point, of course, but I really, when you look at this team opened up, I think the line was 4 over and under wins, and it's up to 6. Right. The smart guys are betting it up. They bet it up to 6, and they're betting it over. So, Baltimore doesn't look that strong. I'm not trying to do another podcast on this division, but Baltimore doesn't look that strong. Cincinnati doesn't look that strong. And you mentioned it before. Roethlisberger's going to miss some games for some injuries. It always happens. And just never know. I mean, this team is loaded. Their roster is huge. It's really improved. So we'll talk about that next week. We'll put that together. And Joe, anything more you want to add about the NFC South or anything else before we sign off?
No, that's about it. One thing on the Bucs. Right now they're saying 3-game suspension for Winston. There's a slight chance, from what I'm hearing, a very slight chance he might get suspended more by the league. I don't think he will, but folks should just go on their computer or their newspaper if they have it and check out the first 3 games. It's not easy for Tampa Bay, even if Winston is playing. I know they're playing the Eagles one of the 3 games, so it's going to be a tough haul for their standpoint. But otherwise, as we said, Jim, this division is jam-packed, a lot of storylines, a lot of star quarterbacks, and you brought up a good one. The Falcons have an offensive coordinator that's got something to prove. I think he's going to prove it a little bit. I'm telling you, I think they're going to be in the top 5 or 6 of this league in scoring when it's all said and done.
All right. Thank you, Joe, and have a great weekend. We'll talk again next week.
Sounds great. Thanks again, Jim. Talk to you soon.